Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TCLF One-on-One series. Through the One-on-One series, we aim to interact with the best legal professionals from India and around the world. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are in for something unconventional. Today, we are not going to talk about a contemporary legal issue that is plaguing the legal systems or a lawyer's journey in a particular field of law and what are the skills that you need to excel in that field of law. Today, we'll be talking about a book, and we are very honored to have Senior Advocate Sanjoy Ghose with us. And Sir will be talking about his upcoming book. And Sir, please correct me if I'm pronouncing the name of the protagonist wrong. How Gourango Lost His O. And that's there, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I have already ordered my copy, sir, and I'm hoping that it comes on in a couple of days or 3 days or so. And I'm very honored to host you, sir, today. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you so much for having me, Shashwat. My audio is okay?
Right, sir. Absolutely okay.
Okay. So first of all, you pronounced it absolutely spot on, and you should be very proud of yourself because I am of you.
That's
And
all thanks to your preview videos, sir, that are there on the YouTube channel.
and secondly, if I may dare to correct you a little bit,
Yeah.
we are actually, this book is all about what you said just before you introduced me. This is about the legal challenges. This is about the story of a person who is a young law student who comes from
Right.
a non-legal family, who
Right.
enters the profession without a godfather, who has to
Right.
battle all the things which are there in a legal profession, like not having a godfather, like the legal profession being so exclusionary, it's so
Right.
almost like feudal. So
Right.
this is actually about all the issues that you're talking about.
That's the beauty of it, sir. And we'll be talking about all of these things. And of course, sir, I'm going to skip over the following parts. I don't think you need an introduction. And I've been following you for so long, sir, as I have, so many students all over India. And
Thank you
you,
so
you,
much.
uh, so, sir, moving on to the book itself, I'm very curious about the name. And in one of the previews that you were reading out from the book, I believe Gourango himself is very upset with his name, and he's asking his parents, like, why did you keep this name? So, how did the idea of this name? How was this invented, and what's the story behind the name? And no need for spoilers, sir. I'm sure that's there in the book, but
No, no,
just a
no,
preview.
no. No, no, Shasha, this is the first book interview that I'm doing. And so it'll be very
Right.
special. And I'll always remember this. And thank you for giving me the opportunity. Well,
Okay.
the name initially I thought of was called a non-story, because actually this is a
Right.
non-story, because we always think the story is important, but actually in law, the ultimate result for the lawyer is actually not so important as the process. So this
Right.
story actually looks at the various characters involved in a legal case. The legal case itself is just like like just there to give you a base, a reference point. But it's talking
Right.
about the lawyer, his family, the judge, the stenographer, the court master, the court clerk, the junior, the litigant.
Right.
So it is all the entire ecosystem of the secretary in the
Right.
office. So it's the entire ecosystem of law, and the story is just there. So it was
Right.
non-story. Then I was told by my publishers that, oh, you should come up with a better name, otherwise people like Shashwat will not pick up the book and
No,
read.
no, no.
So then I thought of why not. So that non-story, they'll say, ye kya hai? What is a non-story? Why should we read a non-story? Why might as well read a story? So then I thought of this book, if I may say, at the risk of defamation suits coming my way, because a little bit is semi-autobiographical. I, as a Bengali, and having been blessed
Right.
by my parents with a name Sanjoy, which is like Sanjay pronounced in the Bong way, which is Sanjoy, actually battled all my
Right.
life, early life in Delhi, and before that in Bangalore in the National Law School when I was studying for 5 years, of how to get people to say Sean as in Sean Connery and Joy and not Sanjay. But then
Right.
ultimately over time, over time I gave it up in Delhi, and that's how, as I got rid of my Sean and became Sanjay, the protagonist in this book from Gourango becomes Gaurang. So that is like a coming of age, you may say, in law.
Right. That's a very interesting background to the character itself. Uh, and so like when did you originally conceive this idea that, I have to write this book, and it has to be about a character who's defying all the odds, who's facing these challenges, and we're trying to cover the whole system in itself, as you talked about, right? We're facing the litigant, we are talking about the clerks, how a chamber functions, how offices functions. So when did this idea come to you, and what was the primary motivation behind this?
Okay, just let me read one line from my author's note, and it goes like this. Oscar Wilde had said, "Man is the least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask and he will tell the truth." So, a lot of things that we cannot say about courts, judges, lawyers, legal profession as ourselves, that inhibition
Right,
goes when you put it in fiction. So I hope
right,
you will enjoy it. You will get insights which no lawyer, none of us as lawyers would dare put in print.
right,
But Gourango, being a fictional character, can say and get away with anything, right?
right.
To come to your question as to when I thought of this, to be very frank, this was a joke. I am not an author and this is not my profession. I'm a struggling lawyer, now a senior lawyer.
No,
It
no,
was just
now
the
you're not
first
struggling,
wave.
sir.
No, struggle is lifetime.
Right,
So, so it was actually the first wave when we were stuck all of a sudden. I was a government counsel then, and we used to have 10, 15 cases a day. And all of a sudden, we were stuck in March 2020 in our house with nothing to do. And, it
right,
took around 15, 20 days for even the virtual court system to come up. So the first 20,
right,
25 days was just, the entire humanity saw something which we never saw before. So, and I
correct.
felt so unused, and I felt so wasted that I said, let me just write. And I started first writing an autobiographically, like a diary, and
Right,
I realized that this is not going anywhere. So I said, why don't we write as a fiction? And when I
right, sir.
wrote this, it was like, I never thought that anyone would actually think of publishing it, and therefore I did not actively push with, established houses. So I sent
Right,
this as a joke to Sumit Malik of Eastern Book Company, who's
right.
also from my college. He's an alum, and he actually gave it to his mom to read. He also passed it on, and his
Okay.
mother read it and said that, there is potential, and we should go and think of publishing this book. And when he
Mm.
said so, I thought he was joking. In fact, I didn't even check his mail. He called up 5 days later and said, "Don't you see your emails? It must have gone to some spam." I said, "What is it?" And he said that we really liked your book. We loved it. We want to publish it.
Right,
And that's how you have it. And of course, then,
right.
none of us were in a hurry. And of course, COVID came,
Mm.
and Supriya, who's Sumit's sister, but also the editor, she did a lovely job. She invested herself for almost 2 years. And of course, she had long COVID. So, dealing with all these things, ultimately, it's come out when it has come out. And as they say, everything, including birth, has its destiny. You will be born when you have to be born. So I guess 15th
Right,
May is Gourango's birthday.
right. And that's tomorrow, sir, 12 a.m. today. So,
Yes.
uh, uh, so many questions that come to my mind from that answer itself, sir. And like, I'll try and, not bother you too much, but just, out of curiosity, I'll shoot away. So, so you mentioned about Oscar Wilde's statement, and one of your previews, you're also reading about this instance wherein one of Gourango's client almost, makes him lose the case in a labor court because of the way he is dressed, and all that, banter that's going on. So, uh, so is it in some way also inspired from your own experiences in these courts? And like, did you, at the point of writing this book, inculcate those experiences, into into Gourango's character and journey as well? That's the first question that I want to ask.
Well, you'll get me in trouble if I answer the truth. So, so, but yes, of course, the answer is that yes, um, a lot of it is based on the experience that I had in court.
Right,
Some of the little, if when you read the book, you'll understand there are a lot of little nuances which For example, the role of the court clerk in the office, that though he's unread, but he's most paid, and he actually terrorizes the junior lawyers who may pass out from an NLU, but before that court clerk who's a class 12 pass, he's nothing, because the senior needs the court clerk can dispense with juniors. So, these are little nuances which I wanted. What is a Passover? What does a Passover mean? What is a collapsing of the board of court? So why do lawyers wear black? Why do lawyers have too many vacations? So these, so what I've tried to do is put in as much of legal trivia I can putting it into the narrative. So I've tried to do two things. One is put in the trivia into the narrative, and also to bring in the nuances of the world of law into the narrative. This is not meant as a literary work. If you're looking at it as if you're looking for a great literature, this is not Salman Rushdie or some Arundhati Roy or something. This is a very, very simple language. Hopefully it's not Chetan Bhagat either, but it is a very it is in very simple language. The objective is to take it to the law student, to the layman, to give a sneak peek into the world of law, to demystify law basically and lawyers.
And I think that is very, very important, sir. Like, we can see that, these shows and movies every day, they're, releasing these series and all, which are trying to give in a sneak peek into the world of law. Like, of course, with its own challenges of portraying it accurately, that's another question, whether or not the portrayal is accurate enough or not. But at last, it is some form of an insight. And I can see when I, see these movies and all with my friends who are non-lawyers or who are not pursuing law, or with my parents, they get so indulged and they're so interested in this, world of law. They're so fascinated, how do courts function, and how does the judge look grumpy, and, is he always this strict and all that. So I think it's very important that we have some kind of a work which gives that insight in a simple language, and also in a language which is interesting enough in a story man. So I think that is where, the book will find its mark. Also, sir, you were talking about wanting to write because, of the lockdown, you were all stuck. Even the courts were, not functioning for some point of time. How, generally what lawyers do is that within this period of time, they either focus upon legal works. They try to write an article or a book on some form, on a legal issue or some subject area, for example, arbitration or the labor laws or anything. Or, as you mentioned, they start to write autobiographies. How difficult was it for you as a lawyer who has always been exposed to these kind of works? Of course, you've all read fiction as well, but to put in the hat of a fictional lawyer, because at the end of the day, this is a fictional character. So how difficult was it, and how different was it?
Well, it is not difficult at all. And in fact, I must hasten to add that while many of the plots are taken from real life, many of the characters, when you read, you'll be able to identify with some characters of real life. But most of the fleshing is done through fiction. So, if you find a character and say, oh, this person looks like that person, don't assume that everything that is written in the book is actually true about the person, because 90% is actually fiction put into that person. And of course, what you said about what lawyers do. Now, I have to confess that, COVID hit all of us in different ways. And for me, during this time, I actually felt that one of the things we litigators don't do enough is give back to the bar what we have got. I can tell you something, that I have been immensely blessed from this legal profession financially, in terms of recognition. And I feel that the less I do for the more I do for the bar is less, because nothing is enough compared to what I have received from them. So one of the things I wanted to do during this pandemic, and you may have read, I wrote several legal articles trying to make legal history of old cases, characters of litigants, judges, and lawyers. And I wrote them in a very interesting fictional kind of style. And they were published in Bar on the Bench, Live Law, Wire, many of these Leaflet, many of these e-magazines, mostly OTT, this digital portals carried them. So then I said that if fiction, and it was very well received by young lawyers, students, judges of the Supreme Court, retired judges of the Supreme Court called up, and one I can say, for example, when I wrote about Justice Vivian Bose, Justice Sapre, who had just retired, called me. He said, "Are you the lawyer who wrote about Vivian Bose?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he had a 1 hour conversation with me, saying he's from Nagpur and how inspirational Justice Vivian Bose was.
Right.
So it was amazing. And I wrote about the Tokyo trials were done by Radha Vinod Pal.
Correct.
I wrote about Radha Vinod Pal, and then his grandson traced out and reached out to me. Similarly, I wrote about this Nambudri's EMS Nambudri Pal's trial against the defamation trial with Nair. The Nair son reached out to me. So when I realized that, it is touching, that people actually read, people actually enjoy if you present something in a different style. So I said, might as well, why don't I put an entire fiction out and, give some more to people who were really appreciating what I was doing. And it was also a way of, for me, coping with COVID anxiety, I must be honest. It wasn't entirely a charitable purpose or a noble purpose. It was a very selfish purpose. I found that during that lockdown, when I was writing, I was able to distract myself from the anxiety around the world and everywhere else. So it was also a very, very selfish purpose.
Sir, to be honest, all of us had some kind of selfish purpose behind the things that we used to do in the lockdown. For example, I started this forum and tried to continue with it. It had higher purposes as well, but some kind of a selfish purpose is always there, because you do not want to wither away with all that anxiety and idleness. So I of course I agree with that, sir. And the next question, sir, is that does this book offer something different to different kinds of people that would be reading this book? Does it offer something in particular to the law students? Does it offer something different to litigation lawyers like myself who have just started out? Or it would offer something else for retired judges? It would offer something else for the laymen who are not connected to the law at all? So in your opinion as the author, does it have something different to offer to different categories of people?
See, I'm not going to overhype this. Already I have hyped it enough by pre-publicity. It's for you to judge. The only thing I hope it caters to all, and whether retired Supreme Court judge or a young law student, is entertainment, and more entertainment. And as long as you read this and you feel that your 2 hours or 1 hour that you spent reading it was not wasted, that your time and money was not wasted, I will feel that my purpose is served. And you have a smile, or you have a thought, you reflect about it. If some of this or some of the characters stays on, lingers in your mind, that for me will be my accomplishment. But otherwise what it has for a person, well, I have shared my insights. All that you have said, of course, with the exception of a judge and a retired judge, I have been a law student. I've been a struggling lawyer. I've been a senior. And yes, of course, mercifully, I've not been a litigant. So I have brought in those experiences which are direct. So far as judges and litigants are concerned, I have indirect, but I certainly have substantial, considering I've almost worked for 25 years. So that I have tried to put pack in 200 pages, so that it's not too rambling and not too long, because I personally don't like long books. I can't read long books. So this is my effort. Let's see. You read it and you let me know. You can be brutal with your criticism.
No, absolutely, sir. I'll read it, and I don't think it would give me a reason to criticize. And whatever my review is, of course, an honest review that I will obviously share. And just moving towards the last bit of questions, sir. As a writer, we often see, of course, the primary source is, of course, the authors writing themselves about it, as well as the movies or the documentaries depicting the way lawyers have written, lawyers or even authors otherwise have written their books. There's a phenomenon called a writer's block, wherein you reach a point, you cannot transcend further, or you're stuck with some theme that, you cannot, you have the words in your mind, but when you're translating them into the copy, they're just not sounding right. So I was very curious to ask, did you at some point of time while writing this book also face that kind of a block, that hurdle that, you're stuck in a theme or you're stuck with a topic that you have the words in mind, but it's just not translating well enough?
I will say something else. Curiously, I feel that when there is a book and an idea whose time has come to be
Right.
told, a story whose time has come to be told, it writes itself. To be very
Right.
honest, I wrote this and I just shut myself. In fact, the tedious editing also, I was like, half-mindedly I did it. As in when the
Right.
editor would share all the drafts for my review. So now
Right.
that I'm reading, I was the last 2 days I was reading here and there bits and pieces of my own thing,
Right.
and I realized that, my God, I actually wrote this. I phrased it in this way, and it just sounded to me, very appropriate. And I can't imagine
Right.
me writing it again. So
Right.
I have a writer's block now rather than when I wrote it, because I feel that it
Right.
wrote itself. You know, it
Right.
just it just flowed.
So of course, so that happens, and yeah, to some extent, I would agree that some stories, when their time has come, it just flows out. But you know, from my own experiences, what I felt is that, for example, if I'm writing on a topic or there's something that I have in mind that has been troubling me for long, and I'm just very instinctive to write about it. Even when I am writing about it, I'm so particular. Sometimes you overthink stuff. I think that's the right way to put it. Sometimes you tend to overthink that. I'm putting in this statement. I think it's very nice. How would the readers, interpret it, or would it sound nice when someone is reading it or not? So sometimes you also tend to overthink stuff, and that also creates a block. So
Right,
just
right.
moving towards the last question itself, sir. And that would serve my selfish purpose, and the main reason as to why at the first sight of the book itself and reading its summary or a preview as to what it offers, I ordered it instantly. uh, what are the different challenges that a litigation lawyer faces? What were the different challenges that you thought about, of course, from your own experiences as well as the experiences of others being in the system for so long? What were the different kind of challenges that you thought of and that have been dealt with in the book, so that I can also put it in a way that it would inspire litigation lawyers to just keep moving forward as Gourango has?
Okay, that's a good question. But again, let me warn you: this is not chicken soup for the soul, and neither
Right.
is this 5 steps to become a successful lawyer. So if anyone is thinking that this is like a manual that I have to do
Right.
this and I'll become a successful lawyer, I
Right.
will say this: that for everyone, believe me, you don't have to imitate anyone, you don't have to follow anyone's path. If you
Right.
want to be a successful lawyer, just try to be yourself, be true to yourself, show the world
Right.
yourself, the best of you. And you don't
Right,
have
sir.
to say, oh, you know, let me tell you, the litigation is a very difficult space to.
Right.
I'm going to say something very contradictory, but you'll have to make sense out of it.
Right.
Litigation is a very difficult place to barge in and make a place for yourself. But once
Right.
you do so, once you put in the hard work, once you show the determination, sky is the limit. So
Right.
you will never have to compare. You never have to always say that I need a formula, I need to do this. No. So
Right.
the challenges, we all know the challenges. You also know how
Mm.
difficult it is
Right.
for a person, especially who does not have a godfather, who does not have
Right.
a judge or a lawyer as an uncle or a father or or a senior,
Right.
to be able to get a good chamber, to be able to get the breaks, to be able to get the cases. It is very
Right.
difficult. And the gestation also, and the young lawyers today, they want to make it big immediately. I mean, I understand that need. I understand that I studied in a law school where we paid 700 rupees as tuition. Today in law school, you're
Mm.
paying lakhs as tuition. So
Right.
you also feel the need to recover and, pay back your loans, pay
Mm.
back that education burden. But
Right.
unfortunately, law is a very slow gestational period is there
Right.
in law. So the it's very easy for me to say so, but I can tell you that
Mm.
I don't consider myself particularly skilled. I
Right.
If I can succeed, I won't say I'm a salve or or Rodgi or whatever. But if I can succeed some and get some, some recognition, get some cases, can, put 2 meals on my table, have a roof over my shoulder, over my head. Everyone
Right.
can do so, and
Right.
you can do so. You can do so without sacrificing your principles. If you follow me on social media, you will see that I don't scare away from speaking truth to power. I don't scare
Right.
away from speaking truth either to the court or to the government.
Right, sir.
If you are honest and if you are competent, believe me, you can be fearless and you can also be successful. So I hold
Right.
myself, not that I'm something great for anyone. I'm saying
Right.
it on all humility that I'm holding myself as an example. If a useless
Right.
person can survive, all of you can. Just hang in there. Have faith in yourself. Have belief in yourself.
Right. So one statement of disagreement that if you can make it, everyone can make it, sir. That that have you are an amazing counsel from what I have seen in the court and from all of your interviews and all that I can say. So of course, you had that inherent talent and all that, and I think that can also be built over time. It's not something that comes naturally to everyone. That can be built over time with persistent efforts. That is something I also believe in. But yes, of course, one statement of agreement is that this field requires a lot of patience, and that is the key to success. That you don't have to give up, and you don't have to compare yourself to others every single day. That I am earning this much, they are earning that much, they're there, I'm here. So because it requires patience, certainly, and without patience, you wouldn't get anywhere in this field of litigation. And thank you so much, sir, once again for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Sashwat.
Any sir concluding remarks about Gourango, about the book, anything, sir? Any concluding remarks?
2 words: go buy
Of course, sir, and we also
and read.
yes, of course. There's no point of buying without reading it. So yeah, but yeah, this happens a lot these days. People buy, and I'm also guilty of it. Books are so attractive, these stories. So we keep on buying them, but to find the time to read all of them is a bit tricky. So
No,
of
but do
course,
that. I'll share a secret. You can see some books behind. Uh,
yeah.
I have not even read. I have not read. Let's say around 35 to 40% of the books behind. But I have
Okay.
bought them because I hope that in the hope that one day I will read. Buying
Right.
books or committing yourself to reading is a very, very good thing. Remember that
Right.
when you're buying a book, also you're applying your mind to ideas. So even if you don't end up
Yeah.
reading, but of course that does not apply to Gourango, you have to read this also
Of
and
course,
share
sir.
your and share your feedback.
Absolutely, sir. We'll also share the link, and I would also encourage all the viewers. We'll be sharing the link to Gourango's, copy. You can go ahead and buy and read. And of course, from what I know of, sir is very open to all kinds of feedback, and he'll be very happy to talk to you about the book once you're done reading. So I hope everyone buys and looking forward to it. So looking forward to reading it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.